Welcome to class, everybody. We are in math class. We are doing graphing a linear equation. Good news is we already learned how to do graphing a linear equations. This is day 2. We have a couple different graphs. The first 2 graphs we're going to look at are these nice horizontal graphs, as you can see on the first picture, and vertical graphs, as you can see on the second picture. We're going to talk about horizontal and vertical graphs. We've got this weird saying here, hoi vux. It doesn't really mean anything in reality. It's not a witch's spell or anything weird. It is written on the wall, which tells you it has a little bit of staying power. It's a little bit important. The H is for horizontal. So what do you think the V is for? Vertical. So we've got horizontal and vertical. Okay? A horizontal graph is written as y equals number. So how do you think a vertical graph is written? It's written as x equals a number. Okay? Now, the real advantage of remembering hoi vux is that the h matches up with the y. And that in your brain helps you remember that horizontal graphs show up when you have y as your equation. And the vux helps you connect that the v vertical graphs have x equals equations. Okay? Now the middle words here are definitely worthwhile. They're kind of like the tricky ones though. These graphs have an interesting slope, and so the middle letters tell you about slope. What type of slope do you think a U represents? Undefined. And we should know that. We should know that vertical lines have undefined slope. That's been on like 6 classworks and 2 quizzes. Guys, girls, we're okay. And for this hoi graphs, where we have horizontal graphs, what is the slope? It is 0. And you might be thinking, well, why is it an O if it's supposed to be 0? Just kind of imagine that instead of spelling this H-O-Y, that this O in the middle is actually secretly a 0. It is not the origin. It is the slope of 0. Now, all that's not too bad. If we go down to the bottom, sometimes they ask us to graph, and this is all the information that we get. So the first thing you want to think is when you see this, you want to have a little bit of, a little thought bubble, and you probably want to be like, weird, right? We're missing what we're supposed to have, right? We're supposed to have y equals mx plus b, and we don't. What are we missing from y equals mx plus b?
The x.
Right, we're missing all of this stuff. It's just gone. So when you see this, you should probably think, it's kind of weird. And so then you should remember, oh, this is one of those flat graphs or straight up and down graphs. Now, that's when I like to think about hoi, because I have a y with no x, and so I think of hoi, and hoi is reminding me, what does that H stand for? Horizontal. Okay? Now, we're going to have a graph that is horizontal, so it's going to go across like this, or maybe like this, or maybe like this, or maybe like this, or maybe like this. It's going to be one of these, okay? And because the only number in the whole question is a 3, there's basically only a couple different possible places you might even consider, all right? So if I look at these 3, or I guess there's 4 there. If I look at these 4, and I label them A, B, C, D, maybe it's a little hard to see. If I label them A, B, C, D, which letter do you think is going to be our very first point for this graph?
B.
B. And that's right. That ain't hard. B is going right here. All of these other points are not good. That is not where your graph goes. And if we need a horizontal graph, does that go up and down or does it go side to side?
Up and down.
Horizontal goes side to side. Sorry, you probably already moved on to number 2. No big deal. So we get number 1. That's it. That's the whole thing. It just goes side to side. You just follow that line to the side and you'll be okay. All right? Now I do want to point something out, okay? Your graph needs to be straight to the side. If you ever are making a graph and that graph is going straight side to side and it's right on top of the axis. You see how my graph right here, if that graph goes right on top of the axis, it's probably wrong, okay? And this happens a lot because a lot of times students accidentally start, like maybe they put their dot right here and then they draw a line that goes straight across. And if your line is exactly on top of an axis, it's probably wrong. Okay, that's just a little tip from Mr. Collier. Now before we move on, I want to see if we can figure out what is the M and what is the B of this graph here. The M is 0. Remember, that middle letter of Hoivux reminds us for horizontal graphs, we have that O, which is secretly a 0. I'm going to write out 0, but you can just put the number 0, no big deal. Now what about the B?
3.
What number does my graph touch the y-axis? You're exactly right. It's a 3. It's a 3. Okay, horizontal graphs are typically a bit easier than vertical graphs. So we're going to move on to vertical. It's going to get a little bit funkier here. Okay? As we move on to vertical, I see that we have another graph here, and hopefully in your head, please stop whispering over me. Hopefully you are thinking, this is very weird, right? Because this is nothing like we're used to. We are supposed to be isolating the y. Stop. Stop. Thank you. So, we're supposed to be isolating the y. We don't even have a y. Okay? This x function here, this is a true, like, you know, we used to use this phrase when I was a kid. This is like an ugly duckling, right? This is a real frowny face, okay? Something funky's going on here. So, we got something weird going on. Hopefully that makes you remember, oh yeah, it's going to be a weird vertical or horizontal graph. I see that it's a Vux. So are you okay?
Yes.
You want to share anything with the class?
No.
All right, well then stop interrupting him, please.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. So, we have Vux and Vux. Reminds us that we have vertical. Same thing as before, the number's -4, so, you know, there's kind of 4 different places that you might put this first dot, and I'll tell you right now, if this was a multiple choice question and we asked the class, there would be a lot of mistaken people. So A, B, C, D.
A.
Mr. Floyd, D.
What up?
When you done with, don't you got 2 sets of notes?
What'd you say?
Don't you got 2 sets of notes?
She mean the notes that you writing on.
I got you. Yeah, we'll have some extras at the end. We'll see. We're not even done with the first page yet, so let's maybe keep writing your best for now. So a lot of people would say that we start at D and then we make a vertical line. But if we make a vertical line on the D, do you notice that now we are exactly on top of the axis? And I was just telling you for the last question that if you're exactly on top of the axis, you're going to be wrong. So it has to be A. Nice job. You've been right the whole time. We're going to be A, and all of these are wrong. So, like I was saying, this is a very weird graph. This is the, ugly duckling, and this is kind of doing things very different, okay? We have started every single graph for 2 days now where the first dot goes on the y-axis, but for a vertical line, it does not go on the y-axis. It goes on the x-axis. That's very weird. That's very different. Vertical lines are weird. So we draw a nice vertical line here. And the last reason that these are weird is that when we try to figure out what the M and the B is, we're going to run into a little bit of an issue. Now, I did have another student who said, Mr. Collier, I don't know what the B is for a vertical line. I said, good news, we wrote it on the notes. I even made a big highlighter circle. And they said, I didn't really take the notes on the front. So, this is going to show up on the classwork. What is the M of a vertical line? It's what the U stands for.
Undefined.
It is undefined. That's something that we've done a lot. We've seen quite a few questions here, but it is not -4. So be careful here. We have the B, and what does B stand for?
-4.
The x-intercept.
Oh.
Neither of those is right.
What?
B stands for, wrong again. B stands for the y-intercept, okay? B stands for the y-intercept.
Isn't it
Allie,
for B?
whether it's your phone or your computer, you need to stop. It's silly. It's distracting class. Thank you. So, the B is a y-intercept. It is not undefined.
Oh, it would be A.
It is not A. It is not -4. B is strange.
No, I'm not saying the answer for B is A. I'm saying it would be A equals.
Huh?
Not quite.
That's literally what the notes say.
Not quite. Sorry, buddy. Give me a second here.
Where
The B value is none.
For real?
Do we have a y-intercept? Looking at question number 2, does our green graph here ever actually touch the y-axis? This graph just simply does not touch the yellow line. The green never touches the yellow. It just does not. If I'm asking you for the B, which is the same as we do for every question, give me the M, give me the B, give me the M, give me the B. A vertical graph has no y-intercept. And so, at the end of the day, vertical graphs, very weird. They go straight up and down. They have their first dot on the x-axis instead of the y-axis, which is very weird. Okay? The last tip I want to give you is that if you're not sure whether your graph is right or wrong, the good news is you have Desmos. And Desmos is crazy powerful. Desmos can graph diagonal lines. Desmos can graph weird lines. Desmos can graph these curvy lines that you've never seen before. They can even, exactly, they can even graph these super crazy lines.
So put tan HX.
All right, y equals tan h x. So they can graph all these lines, which means they can also graph the lines that you've been asked to graph. So if the question says, what is x equals -4, Desmos knows x equals -4 looks like that. And you can always check. So, if you're not feeling confident in your answers, a kid earlier said, Mr. Collier, I did all my 7 graphs. but I'm not sure if they're right, I said just Desmos them and see if they look the same, okay? Now using Desmos and copying Desmos, that is not a good strategy for getting good grades. All right. Okay, we're moving on to the back, on to number 3. On the back, we have the same thing we were doing yesterday. We want to graph these. We want to get M equals. We want to get B equals, but we have an issue. The issue is that the Y is not isolated. And so we cannot get the M yet. We cannot get the B yet because the Y is not by itself. So what we have to do is a little bit of movement. Your expectation today is you're going to have to solve for Y before you actually, oh, that's supposed to be a 2, before you actually start the graphing process. The good news is, I don't know why my 2 is so ugly, sorry. The good news is that we have done lots and lots of solving for Y, and so we should be pretty good at this. Here, I'll just go over it in blue because my red was kind of ugly. There we go. So we have Y equals negative 2x plus 3. From here, we're going to need to be able to grab our M and our B, which we can definitely do. The M is negative 2. The B is 3. And here's where we're getting into the strategies from yesterday. The B is where we start. The B is always on the y-axis, so I'm going to put the value right here. That's my initial point. That's where we start. That's where it goes. Once we have that, now we're going to use the M to get the rest of the spots. We're going to put it divided by 1. Dividing it by 1 is going to turn it into a fraction, which is good because remember, M equals rise over run. And the way that I do things is I will always, every single time, go up. No matter what, I will always go up. And then I will either run positive to the right or I will run negative to the left. Okay, that's how I will do every single question. Looking at this number here, the first thing I'm going to do is ignore all the signs. Totally ignore the signs. I'm just going to look at the top number, and that is a 2. And so I'm going up 2. So I'm going to look at my dot here, and I'm going to count 1, 2. But before I put anything down, I also need to go to the side. Then I'm going to look around for my negatives. I see that I have a negative in front of the 2. And so I'm going to go left because I have a negative. If I have any negatives, it's a left. There's the negative. I'm going left. So I'm going to go 1, 2, left 1. And then just do it again. 1, 2, left 1. There you go. Now I have 3 dots in a row. Now I will draw my line. I know we don't have rulers yet. I'll get you rulers for the classwork, but it's not that big of a deal. Draw a line that goes all the way across.
My bad.
You did bad?
My bad.
You want to like write anything down on the whole back of the paper? You want to get started with us?
I'm doing it up here. I already know how to do it, so I don't really need it.
All right. Can't wait to see. So for number 4, same thing. We're going to move the 3x's to the other side. Minus 3x minus 3x. We're going to have negative 6y equals negative 3x plus 12. Once you get this far, we're going to divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6. And when you do those dividings, you can check these out in Desmos. 2 negatives makes a positive. 3 divided by 6 is 1/2. 12 divided by -6 is -2. And now we can do our really quick process of graphing. M equals, B equals. It's a 1/2. It's a -2. We start at -2. We go up 1 over 2. We go up 1 over 2. And we're done. All right, we got 2 questions left on the bottom. Line down the equal sign, we have 1x, so we're doing minus 1x on both sides. Negative 3y equals negative 1x minus 18. We're going to divide by -3. And dividing everything by -3, we will get a final equation of y equals 1/3 x plus 6. Again, you can use Desmos to type those things in. Now 5 has one of the more difficult graphs of the bunch that we're doing here. We're going to want to start at positive 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to want to go 1, 3. I have an m of 1/3. That's going to be up 1 and right 3. So I'm going to go up 1 and right 3. But the problem is, if I try to do that again, 1, 1, 2, 3, this point is off the graph. This point doesn't count. And so this is where, talked about it yesterday, we're going into opposite world. We're going the different direction. Okay, we got to, instead of going up right, we got to do the total opposite. We got to go down left. And make sure when you go this direction that these dots end up in a perfect straight line. So let me give you an example. I know that it's 1, 3. If I go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and left 1, how does this dot look? Does this look like I have a nice straight line?
No, it's bad.
No, it's not very good. And this is what happens a lot of times, right? Students, they kind of just get a little bit backwards and they are down in opposite world and they get turned around. Instead of going up 1, I need to go down 1. Instead of going right 3, I need to go left 3. That is where my point should be. Now I draw a line. And we have one question left. 10x, so we do minus 10x minus 10x. 4y equals -10x. What's up, Miss Ethan? You want to split it up? I mean, how's it going in that room?
They're fine. They're just loud.
They're just loud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this class got them beat.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah. You haven't missed anything super annoying in class, Ms. Easton, that's for sure.
Huh? What'd you say?
I was just being sarcastic. All right, finish it. Let me finish this question, Ms. Easton,
Okay.
and then we'll get
All right,
onto the
you can
notes.
gather them, and then I'm gonna go grab them, the other kids.
Do you want your full group? Here you go. You can just cross them off or put it,
Yeah.
highlight some that you do want to take or whatever.
This was just basically what we did yesterday.
Yeah, the way I did yesterday was even easier. All right, the m is -5/2. The b is 0. We're going to start at 0. We're going to go up and left. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. We're going to run out of room, so we're going to go down into opposite world. Crazy, right?
It's crazy, man.
Instead of going up left, we're going to go down right, and we're going to make sure that we are in a nice straight line, especially for these where we run out of room, especially when we're off the screen. Sorry about that. There we go. We're looking nice and straight. Up left, down right. Draw my line. And we're all done. Solving for y. We know how to do this. Graphing shouldn't be that bad. On the front,
Oh my god, I was in there.
in particular, this part here, the b value of a vertical line, there is not a b value at all, because this vertical line simply does not touch it.
Can you flip back to
All right.
back?
Sure.